you can start whenever you want. Okay, so.
Okay. Well, since now we are recording, it's a pleasure to join this interesting group, and I really thank Professor Bortoluzzi for the honor he gave me, and I'm so glad I accepted this invitation, and I want to be very, grateful to the University of Udine, Trieste, Ljubljana, Zagreb, no? And all the others that are in this consortium. I see a lot of friends from CNR. Ciao Francesca De Pascalis from CNR. And Umberto is trying to get back. I cannot be serious, stay too much serious with... the only serious thing I'd like to ask you is to please keep your cameras on if you can. After so many months of Teams, I really love to see people when I talk. It's like, we got used to this when we were in the classrooms, and now it's beyond me not to be able to look at people's faces. Guido, you can turn it off, of course, whenever you want. It's not a problem. But no, scherzo, Guido, please stay with us. Oh, ciao Norma. Norma is a friend of mine. I invited her as well, together with her friend in the back. We don't know who he is, but so long story short, Norma is working with me on my next endeavors. So I was hoping you accepted her as well for this talk on innovation and open innovation. And the other important thing I'd like to ask you is to stop me, to interact with me, because I can take this lesson in many directions, and I'd love to be of relevance for you. So ask me, what is it that you want to know? Ask me, let's use the chat. Let's use the chat as we did this morning. Absolutely, yes. I don't know how you use it with my friend Nicola, and I hope you enjoyed Nicola's lesson. I don't want to be a repetition of Nicola's lesson. So I'd be curious to understand where you want me to go, and the open innovation. We have some time. I think after the time we spent together, I think we will cover a lot of ground in this discussion about open innovation. I thank Guido for granting me so much time available. Quindi Guido, spiegami un attimo. So I don't understand. How did you use the chat this morning? No, sei senza microfono. Sei muto. In the meanwhile, Roberta, it's going to be...
Okay, it was impossible to unmute. I don't know why. Okay. And now I'm muted, but I was clicking and it was impossible. Well, okay, no, this morning, actually, there was Nicola that said something about, I don't even remember what. And we started, yes, it was about the evaluation of companies and the fact that companies can be evaluated on revenues, profits, and so on and so forth. And then we started talking about companies that are no longer startups, but actually that struggle to generate profits even after years and years and years. But despite that, they still receive a lot of support, financial support from venture capitalists, private investors, and so on and so forth. And so we started mentioning the case, for example, of Spotify, that I think that all of us use every day. That is a company that has never produced so far one single dollar of profit. And then we shared also the data coming from Tesla. Tesla in the last year, for the first year, was profitable, but it was actually the first year after many. And so my suggestion was to, let's say, when there are interesting things, to post them, but also to feel free to stop you.
nail them down in the chat. Nail them down in the chat. An interesting aspect about this discussion that is going to let me introduce open innovation is something, Guido, that we are finding now with some playing with some data on Italian spin-offs. So we have quite nice data about their operative margins, you know, their profits. Okay, not the profits that got distributed, but the returns. So the difference between
revenue and costs.
Revenue and costs, as simple as this. And so we were very, the findings are very curious because it turns out, okay, the more they become expert and they survive, the more is likely that they have significant profits, no? Either to distribute or to keep as a treasure nest, no? And that doesn't surprise me. We will talk about business models. I've talked about this with Nicola. Another interesting aspect that we are finding is that, and this is interesting for you guys that might be interested to identify entrepreneurial avenues to your projects, is that their profits tend to be negative or they decline as they increase the number of employees, as they grow in the size of the company. And how do you explain that, Guido, or anybody? You know, so you have these companies. We took only companies that survived. These are spin-off companies. They're all spin-off companies. So the larger they are, the closer revenues and costs appear to be.
I don't know. It reminds me, Alberto, a paper that I published some years ago about what really matters in to grow for startups. If it was better to work on the development of the novelty side of the business model or on the efficiency side of the business model. And what we discovered actually is that novelty didn't impact a lot. What really growth was efficiency in the operation, in streamlining the business models, for example. And I think that may be a potential let's say answer. Sometimes spin-offs, they are really good in producing new technologies. They can also find also market for their technology, but when it is a matter of scaling up to do things, let's say, more seriously, to look like more, a real company, sometimes they fall short because they becomes unable to make things in a very industrialized and efficient way. But that can be, let's say, just a potential explanation.
And please feel free to switch off your cameras, no problems. If you have Francesca, if you have problems with bandwidth, anybody, I like to see you all, but no problem if you have issues with your come si chiama, with your connection. No, I wonder if there are other explanations, because this is, in my opinion, an interesting starting point to our discussion. So think about this. You have this discussion today with Nicola about spin-off companies and the like. Help me understand this phenomenon. I don't know if I was clear. The more spin-off companies coming out of CNR, University of Udine, the more they grow, the more they're unable, let's say, to produce wealth or to generate value added. And it's weird. And by the way, Guido, going back to your point, these are companies that do make a lot of good technology. So we only took companies that are actively investing in R&D, are actively patenting. And we also find that, for example, if they have a large patent portfolio combining various technology classes, it seems that they are like actually adding value to their production. So as they are connecting the dots of different knowledge domains, they are doing a good job. So those companies that probably Nicola would like to see in its portfolio, but he would hate to see this phenomenon happening, that as companies grow in size, their profit margins decline. I wonder if anyone can venture with an explanation. It has to do with open innovation. Simone.
Can I add, yeah, something? Maybe it depends on the costs they have to support. Okay, because the technology is maybe it's a good technology they can propose, but growing in size, maybe adding new costs. I don't know.
Ho capito, but you add new costs. You hope that by adding new costs, you also add more revenue, no?
Not necessarily. I don't know. I don't know, but not necessarily.
But you are getting on the right track. So the way that we are measuring, I'm gonna help you enormously now. Think about spin-off company. Raise your hand if you know a spin-off.
If you know
a spin-off company, if you have ever seen a spin-off company,
just talk about.
Gianni ne ha vista una, Simone, or heard about, or know the people running that company.
Yeah.
Now I repeat again the story, and I tell you how we measure growth. We measure in terms of people hired by this company. So the more they hire people, the less probable this company remains profitable. Any idea?
Well, maybe
why?
Maybe it needs to spend more money on marketing to keep brand reputation while it grows, for instance.
Too sophisticated, Fausto. Too sophisticated. Much more basic. Much more basic. Simone was on the right track when he was saying, they spend more money,
Because economies of scale not always scale well for some industries and products. So sometimes when you are scaling up, you actually have a higher load of costs for similar revenues. I mean, proportional similar revenues, so your margin decreases.
Technically, yes.
From my point of view, it's necessary to find the correct way to get financial support, but also to identify the correct SMEs that could be helped the spin-off for the production.
And what do you mean by the correct spin-off?
In these days, I have counted different spin-offs in another EU projects, and they are very interesting ideas, very scientific ideas, but is missing the concrete part. The concrete part is the finance, that they don't have, they are looking for, to find the right partners for its realizations in concrete, and then find the right route for the market.
Roberta, let's go with this example because it's interesting for me. Let me add another piece of the puzzle. These companies are at least 5 years old. Okay, so they stick around for a while. They continue to function, even if they're not making any profit, and they continue to hire people. No profit, they spend in R&D, they do patent, they keep on going. What is wrong? What is? How can you explain? Is it rational? You know, and the economies of scales are not there, obviously, because if you grow and you're not add any value, no, like Simone said, you know, you are growing, but costs are more than the revenue. Cavolo fai, what are you doing? Roberta is telling us the example of this company is not really quite getting the financial aspects. Nicola would be scared of these companies.
I think that I'm not sure if it's right, but for me the spin-off is missing and the proper investor for the realization of its products, and maybe it's missing the right procedures for its realization. They have a mature idea, a concrete idea, but at the moment is not realized, is not implemented. So it's missing the methodology.
The business something, the business model. Ma Roberta and anyone, if I tell you, now, would you work for a company that has been a while, going on for a while now? The technology is looking at is interesting. I don't know, wearable robotics, artificial intelligence. Guido, cos'è che è fashionable ora? Food tech mixed with biosensors in the ham to verify how much the San Daniele ham is when it's ready. So something really cool, you know? They've been a while for a while. They've been on the market for a while. They have a nice website, no? Nice people, nice people. Some of them are still working at the university. Large patent portfolio, okay? They are not doing any profit, but they're offering you a job and it fits your profile. Now, first of all, sounds familiar, and second, would you work for this company?
It's very difficult to answer you because if they are present in the web market and they have different potential clients for their visibility, but for me it's missing how they can present in a proper way in the open innovation or in the international market too. So
okay, but you need to take a decision. You know, you need to tell me if you're gonna work or not. Petra, what would, so imagine, Petra, cos'è che fai? Repeat me what your expertise is exactly.
Well, basically I am working for many years also as a head of technology transfer office at the University of Rijeka, and I did my PhD on that also.
Okay, on technology transfer. Okay.
Yes.
These guys are looking exactly for a position of technology transfer manager. They look for someone who's interacting with other universities. So, and I'm interviewing you. I'm the boss of this company. And I just told you all of this. What would be the most obvious question you ask me to understand if you want to work for me?
Sorry, I didn't completely understood. Do you want me to answer as a position as a
it's a job interview. Manager? It's a job interview. I'm asking you to join my company that has no plan to become too profitable. We've been around for 10 years and we keep hiring and hiring people, and we are patenting a lot. We are spin-off companies of University of Trieste or Udine. We are opening up a subsidiary in Rab. So perfect for you. Come and join me. What is the question that you ask me?
Well, first is, what do you want me to do in your company?
Exactly what you do now, you know, technology transfer manager. Technology transfer.
Okay. Exactly. First of all, of course,
I saw your CV. You are perfect for us.
Okay, first of all, of course, I would like to know more on basically what are the product, services, technologies that actually you are offering, right?
Dan, I explain you, and very nice, very beautiful. They fit very much your expertise. What else?
Okay, then I would ask at what okay, obviously if you're a spin-off company, then you have these products and services basically ready for the market, right? You already evaluated them, you already
yeah they're there. Okay. We make revenue. We are mostly like a service, doing like service and product service combination. So they are ready. They're ready to go to the market. So, and we have been around Petra for many years. So
look, it is very practical. He's asking how long will last my contract, because guys, at the end I'm leaving.
No problem, Guido. For you, I take you job for life. No problem, no, Petra. For as long as the company is alive, we have you.
Yeah, who are your customers?
My customers are other research institutions, because I sell these complex sensor things, and so, but I have a good market and a very good reputation. My colleagues, so I'm good on that.
I would ask, what's your plans for the future, for growth of the company?
We keep hiring a few more people every year.
How much will you pay me?
Oh,
my salary.
Che cavolo, are you all missionaries? Guido, ma hai fatto una classe di missionari. So yes, thank you, Zelica. Absolutely, this is a very important question, and it's probably the question that these people that go to work for this company are asking. You know, very, very clear question, and it's a question that probably is not at the top of the priority if we are talking about innovation and technology transfer. But indeed, how much are you paying people is indeed a very important question to ask. And it's indeed, Guido, my interpretation on why we see this negative probability connected to growth of the company and profits, because some of the value that is created by these companies and spin-off companies are, as we will see, definitely an important component of open innovation. Travel through people. And so instead of having profits, I probably I'm going to pay you, Zelica, a lot. Or I'm going to, if my company goes well, I am going to give you good bonus, which means higher costs for my production. And you see, is this open innovation? So I have this very research intensive company, no? That is doing, that is on the edge of technology, is hiring a lot of smart people like Petra and Zelika. We unfortunately turned down Fausto and Guido. Sorry, guys, we didn't understand your point of view, so bye-bye. So we want them on board. We continue to grow. We don't make any, we create jobs, good paid jobs. Probably, no, when we go back to Roberta's point, these companies are not going to attract people like Nicola. Mostly because of the reason Simone and Fausto said, no? These companies, Roberto, in my opinion, don't even need a clear financial plan. Their only plan is to pay well the people they're working for, distribute the wealth that they create through salaries. They are acting like a consulting agency, no? Is it okay to look down, to despise this business model? Should we focus only on the companies that have a very clear trajectory to growth and explode, become unicorns? These ones will never become unicorns. But do we like these companies or not? Nicola, I'm not sure he would like it. It's too bad he's not here. I think he might like it at a certain point. What is your opinion? Is this a model, Petra, is this a model of technology transfer that we want to encourage? Let our spin-off companies grow like that organically instead of like, you know, going up into the hyperspace. Lifestyle companies, Guido's saying, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen many companies that actually, they don't have a burning desire to grow. They don't have a burning desire to become a unicorn. They have just the desire to become a company that is also a nice place and a nice substitute of a job that you do under someone else, under a job, under a boss. So they like their independence, they like their freedom, but they also like their work-life balance. And so I've seen many recently of such companies that they are good as they are, as they declare, and don't want actually to pursue growth or high growth.
Maybe they don't risk.
Maybe, Simone, they don't risk. Maybe, yeah.
They are solid group.
Bravo, solid growth. Solid growth is there. So it's not, Guido, only necessarily that we see this as lifestyle and companies, but let's say they are either lifestyle, they seek a good work-life balance, or like Simone is saying, they do not risk too much and they do not grow as fast. But let's assume for a second that these companies are indeed taking knowledge, technologies out of a research environment. They're applying a lot to European projects. Aperta parentesi, that's where probably the money comes from to pay for the salary, chiusa parentesi. And by the way, if you get a European project, how much is the profit at the end of the European project? Okay, quindi it's obvious that that money needs to go into salaries or equipment, or you cannot get. I think I'm right? You cannot make a profit, no, on a European project. Anybody from?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't, no? You need to show me that all the money I give you, it's spent. But we like when our spin-off companies get European funding, no? Especially in Italy, because we have the problem that we are incapable to spend European money. So for God's sake, give us companies that. But il mio punto is, my point is, these companies that are taking these technologies out of the lab and are somehow combining them with some market expertise, they do not grow. Are these interesting stories for my open innovation strategy? So if I have to structure a lecture on open innovation, should I talk about these spin-off companies that grow out of hiring people, paying them, okay, going from one European project to the next? Are these good examples of open innovation companies? Dun, dun, dun.
Why should they grow at all?
Chi è che l'ha detto?
Gianni.
Gianni. Okay, let's focus on the ones. I'm trying to make life simple. No, let's focus on the one who grows, because there are others that, like the lifestyle companies, that just don't grow. We can focus also on them if you want. If you want, let's focus also on the ones that don't grow. You know, this is a company that has been going around for 5 years with the same 5 people. One is a professor, 2 PhD students, you know, and it's like that. And it's always being active, never in a loss, interacting with the market. Is this a good example of an open innovation company? Roberta, you raise your hand.
Yes, thank you. In some sense, yes, because their knowledge, your experience could be an added value for the open innovation network. If we have to consider in another aspect, if this spin-off is an example, a good example for others, I have some doubt.
So you would not look at this as a role model, but technically, is it an open innovation story?
Yes, it could be an example of a know-how and best practice that maybe sometimes could be useful for another one.
Okay. Guido is saying it is, in theory, it is.
No, it's about, it was about the recording, Alberto.
Okay, but I thought.
Sorry, because in my screen
it's on.
It's on because it stopped to 11 and 37 seconds in my screen. I'm not sure if
I don't know.
But also you gave me, I think, an answer we could live with. It is in theory. It is in theory. Probably Roberta is right. There are many examples of companies like that. Maybe some people, Roberta, would disagree with you that is a model, a role model. Some others would agree with you. This is not a role model for sure. You know, we want companies to grow, to make value, not to jump from one European project to the next. Some others would say, no. We want these companies because they hire, they produce, they are on the market, no? So let's not go there. We don't expect people to think, to tell me if there are, if this is a role model. But indeed, if the question is simply, is this an open innovation story? For the way I am picturing it, the answer is yes. No? What are the 2 components here that you see? One, knowledge and technology that is coming in from a research environment, let's say. And the second is an entrepreneurial effort. A combination of knowledge mixed with a business model. You might like it, Simone, or not, but it's a business model. I keep hiring people. Okay, I go from a European project to European project. This example, to start us off with, instead of telling you, asking what is the most successful spin-off company of the history, and you go Google. No, yeah, good, bravo. No, see, we all want to be Google and have the next Google in our campus, but more realistically, ecco Google che mi è partito il ok Google. No, stai buono. Sì. Che vi dico Google questo parte. No, I have a spy next to me.
May I comment? May I comment?
Simone. No, prego, prego. We are here for this.
I have a patent.
And no.
And
why?
And the co-partner of my patent is a company, and it is exactly what you are seeing now. They have a lot of projects. They are people from mathematics because they have good connection with mathematics, and they jump from one project to another project. Actually, they are alive since more than 20 years, 25, and they have just one commercial product, nothing else. But they survive. They are a good company, and they do a lot of science because they have a lot of projects, and so it's exactly what you are saying now. But I don't know if they are a good company or a bad company, actually.
I'm so sad my Nicola has left and is not here, because I don't know if he talked to you about VR Media.
No, it's a small company in Genova.
Okay, no, I'm sure, and I'm sure Roberta, if she could talk, probably she could tell us many other stories of these companies, and a lot of companies like that are coming out of CNR, Sant'Anna, and other university. But there was one company, Simone, exactly like this that you're describing. It's called VR Media. VR Media, it's, if not the first spin-off company of Sant'Anna, is probably one of the first one. It's been there for...
They are not a spin-off.
No? Questi non sono spin-off. In my case, VR Media is a spin-off company and has been going from European project to the European project to the European project. They were able to get some kind of market presence, but they've always been afloat, never, becoming successful, till after 15 years or at least 10 years of history, they were able to get it right and get attention of venture capitalists, and Nicola is one of their investors. I think I'm not disclosing any confidential information. The recording machine is still on. Yeah, but I'm quite positive. I'm quite positive. No, vabbè, non sono nel suo portafoglio. So no, yes, it's not. So and of all the companies, no, Simone, I had in mind that was going one day to attract value from venture capital. I thought VR Media is not one of them, but it had been going on for 10 years, and then like that, they're not gonna become Google, but indeed is one of now our success stories here at Sant'Anna. Now you know that we are collecting success stories of ecco, vedi che c'è nel portfolio, quindi I'm not disclosing any. It's weird that Nicola didn't talk to you about VR Media, because it's an interesting story. So for sure, a story of open innovation, probably save it for me, but it's a story where a lifestyle, quasi-lifestyle entrepreneurship model turned into a company that was becoming appealing for VC. Why I'm trying to be a little bit borderline here, because I'm getting a little bit sick when they invite me for lecturing and on open innovation, and they want to know how startups are going to become Google, because I just told you, these are open innovation stories, and they are, you know, not that exciting, no? Not that exciting. These companies that Simone is referring to is probably an open innovation stories as well. And so in the course of the years, I try to develop, okay, so if all it takes is knowledge transfer, technology and knowledge transfer, and an entrepreneurial effort to make open innovation, what is not open innovation? Can you give me an example of a story of a non-open innovation? Think about a company you know that is the opposite of open innovation.
A company that has just one product and nothing else for whole its history.
Okay. Can you? I need names. Sì, Danieli. Chi è che ha detto Danieli?
No, I was in a call with Danieli at 1 p.m. and so they are, you know, one of the most closed companies. Not because they don't collaborate. Of course, they collaborate with others, but every time you collaborate with Danieli, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement that is 500 pages long. So.
We will keep this. Cioè, presente il cappello dell'asino, donkey, no? At certain point we're gonna put donkey hat on Guido for saying this, because Guido, one of the points I will try to give you and remember is, but this your answer is very good. I'm just joking with you, Guido, but it's very counterintuitive. But think about me. When I started to study open innovation, and I was very lucky because I started to study open innovation with Henry Chesbrough, and I was there when I was in Berkeley doing my PhD in Berkeley when Henry was writing the book, no? And he liked me because I speak funny English and I make decent carbonara. I'm good with data and other things. And funny boy to be around, so he hired me. Do you know, Guido, what is the first course that he made me follow besides this course? What Harry told me, you need to go and study.
IPR.
Exactly. Intellectual property. So he sent me to the law school, which is next to the School of Business in Berkeley, quite conveniently. And I did study IP, intellectual property. We will, let's pencil this point. So, kind of wrong answer. You can be open, but yes, you can absolutely make people sign a lot of non-confidentiality agreement, a lot of, confidentiality agreements, a lot of trade secrets, and be very careful about your intellectual property. So I find it very compatible to open innovation. We will talk about this. So I need, let's go back to the idea of the single product company. Can you help us picture us a company that has like one single project? I forgot who was mentioning this.
Simone.
Yeah, but actually I have no idea.
Because Simone, careful, okay. I need a company that does innovate. If you tell me this company is making only one product, a blockbuster product throughout his life, is making spoons, always looking like that with the same materials, okay. Yes, it's non-innovative company more than a closed innovation company.
Bimby, the robot kitchen, the kitchen robot, you know. I mean, they launched
interesting story. You are not the first
Roomba.
one making
Okay,
this example.
Cleaning the vacuum cleaner robot, Roomba.
Why do you feel this is a closed innovation company?
Well, Bimby is very, you know, they want to keep their products not very open to others, so they, you know, it's like these companies that want to keep as possible as non-interoperable, so they keep their brand and no one can get compatibility with other manufacturers. Like Nespresso tried the same, and they actually had a lawsuit, etc., because of the fake capsules, you know, like from generic brands trying to have the same capsule as Nespresso machines. And they want not to have that, because like that they can sell only their product and no one else can steal their market in a way.
I like this example a lot. I look into this story of Borgware. I know how close they are when it comes to their marketing strategies. So they are very strategic in their marketing strategy, and in a way they are very good at aligning the business model of a very vast marketing network. So they're good at doing that. But maybe you're right. Maybe they're very closed with their technology. That I just don't know, and I will write this down and I'll try to follow up with you on that. What they are very good at is developing a very open and controlled network of marketing people. So the way that they sell, they have very limited presence in the markets, and they sell through this network, this referral network that is based a lot on demonstration effect. So you have to invite one of these Bimby people at home. She cooks for you, but she doesn't or he doesn't work for Bimby. He's just doing this on the side, no? And then you can also become one person that sells Bimby if you own one. And it's very interesting the way that they were able to scale their marketing. But it's interesting story when it comes to the production of the technology. In terms of cement producer, Guido, I don't know if you wrote it on purpose, but the first, we wrote 2 pieces at the beginning of the Open Innovation saga in Italy. Federico Frattini and myself were the first to work on Open Innovation, and we worked together on a Fiat case that, if I have time, I'll talk to you about the opening up of Fiat. And Federico, in parallel, wrote the case on how Italcementi, a cement company, was opening up. And in the mix of ingredients and technology that he was using, Federico found evidence of open innovation. So even a cement producer could become an open innovation company.
Yes, Alberto, I still remember that some years ago in the portfolio of Nicola Redi, when Nicola was working for TD Venture, for example, there was a company, it was a spin-off from the University of Calabria, that invented a platform-based, let's say, business model for producing products related to cement, because, you know, the products that you use, for example, for putting down the tiles at home, they are based on cement, and then there are some chemicals that you need actually to add in order to prepare such special so-called glues. in the sector. And I still remember, for example, the case of this machinery that was a machinery, a sort of machinery for producing such kind of derivative products, hundreds of products actually, based on the addition of different chemicals to the main product that was cement. And it was funny because the business model looked like the one of a printer, where you have the paper that was the cement, cool, plus the cartridge that were cool, the chemicals, and producing the final products. But one case that I want to propose you is to deepen is the case of Luxottica. I know quite well the R&D manager of Luxottica, Fabio Borsoi, because we were born in the same city and we grow up together. And my opinion is that for years, despite remaining a strong vertically integrated company, also at the level of innovation, they were quite integrated and developing actually everything possibly in-house. Of course, when you talk about look at that, these glasses, you need also external designers, because you need to collaborate with designers, fashion experts, and so on and so forth. And if they could control even designers, they would have controlled even designers, to be honest. Only recently they started to open up a little bit because of digitalization, and actually they worked together with Google at the development of the first generation of the Google glasses that, as you remember, never reached the market, at least in the form that we were expecting, the Google glasses that everyone should have on, and that we don't have nowadays. And as far as I know, they are still collaborating a lot with Google on the development of the next generation of the Google glasses. So the company actually opened up, but the process of opening up and collaborating with others is just recent and nothing that really belongs to their history.
Guido, tricky question for you and for everyone else. So is it if a company is centered, its innovation effort is centered on an internal R&D engine, can we then call this company a non-open innovation company? So my company is investing a lot in internal R&D. I have a very huge lab. Okay, does it mean that my company is not interested in open innovation?
No, not necessarily, I would say. Not necessarily. It depends on how much you combine the internal investment with external investments and with external collaboration. My impression is that, for example, Luxottica was just looking internally and not really interested in knowing what others were doing or in collaborating in building bridges between the company and the rest of the world, not interested at all in doing in focusing on ideas, let's say, not open to others. But as you said, open innovation.
So it's not. So let me rephrase what you said, because this is interesting. So the fact that this company makes its own internal R&D is not a sin, no, for an open innovation company. Can I say that? No, I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just trying to understand.
No, you can invest in R&D, of course, a lot, and also being open at the same time. If I think at the pharma company, they still invest in R&D, but they also collaborate with university research centers, startups, and so on and so forth. So actually, they do the both. As far as I understood from open innovation, it's not just being open; it's reaching a good combination between investing in the development of your knowledge, but at the same time also remaining open to collaborate with others.
Very good. Very nice. I'm writing everything down and I'll try to summarize in a little bit. I wonder if there are other great examples like the ones that I've received about Workwear, Luxottica, and the others, to tell me what is not open innovation. And in the meanwhile, greetings, Fausto, from our common friend Andrea Bertolini. Divella, buono. Chi mi parla di Divella? Who wants to talk about Divella? It's not the first time that I got that case. Valeria, why Divella? I actually didn't say hello to you. Where are you? I don't see you.
You cannot see me because I'm facing a little bit of a problem with the camera.
You are living
No, I'm living in Puglia, of course.
Bello, allora la sai la storia di Divella? Dai, racconta. Stella di Divella.
No, I'm really not an expert because unfortunately food and beverage are not a sector I know very well. But I can tell you a little bit of a story in a sense that all the family business, in particularly in regions like mine region, which of course I would say has a quite high average of companies that are family companies. And I think that a kind of close innovation model is very typical. Let me use this word, okay, when we talk about family-owned companies. Because of course, you know, you stick, you remain in the family and everything remain in the family, and then you go, you know, over and over. Okay, fortunately, nowadays these things are changing a little bit, but I would say that this is one of the major challenge we have also to create networks in many cases among, of course, among companies, particularly if you think about the cluster and so on. But nevertheless, talking about Divella, I would just simply say these two things. Okay, first is a family business, and then secondly, it's managed only by men. No women are allowed to take a managerial position within Divella.
Wow.
Bella storia. Interessante. This is so interesting, Valeria. You have no idea how interesting this is to me. You are taking us very far from R&D, isn't it? So we're not talking about research and development, innovation. What are you talking about when you talk about it's the family, it's male environment? What are you talking us about? What dimensions of management? It's not innovation management, it's something else, right?
Yeah, it's precisely.
What is it? How would you call it?
I don't know. I can call it in the sense that it's
provaci.
It's a box management.
Oh yeah. Qua we are rewriting the book of management. Norma, senti, guarda dove ti porto. You were thinking about me maybe in classes with regular people. We are rewriting the manual of management. I love this box theory, the box theory. I'm writing the box theory. You know, Guido and I probably, because we are book smart but not street smart, would call this an issue of corporate culture, strategic management, strategic orientation. Maybe Guido, that is very sophisticated, he would call it socio-emotional wealth of the company that is not in line with an open and collaborative environment. We actually wrote, Valeria, a piece on this to identify the fit, no, between a style of management and a style of innovation. And I agree 1000% with you that this matters so much with this concept of family firms. In family firms, some of the values and the culture, the style, it's so much embedded, no, in the company. But to the opposite extreme, Valeria, if we leave for a second
Yes.
Di Vella,
Yeah.
and we go to Barilla, okay?
Yeah.
Barilla is one of my favorite. So when I don't know who to call, or when I want to have I even organized a shared lesson together with the R&D manager of Barilla about open innovation, and we confronted. So it's one of the most open innovation companies that I know.
Yeah.
We are actually writing a paper on this that probably Guido will get under review. So Guido, if you find a case study centered on innovation in food in Barilla, think about me and don't treat that paper bad. Huh? But this is the way academia works, by the way, people.
But it's not a matter of sector, in fact.
Esatto, brava. It's not the example of Italcementi that I mentioned before. It's and food. Food. It's an incredibly. Besides the fact that food is becoming high tech right now.
Let me say one thing, so maybe you can. If you think about food or about agri-food, let's say, sector, okay, think about what is happening in Puglia with canapa, which is exactly the opposite. So if you think about people that are cultivating canapa nowadays, it's open innovation everywhere. It's just all about open innovation. Cannot be anything else. You have anything, think about, I don't know, functional food. So you have canapa oil, canapa pasta, you know, it's all about open innovation. You use canapa for any kind of packaging, which could be, you know, kind of fancy, sustainable packaging. And we are talking about agri-food as well. We are talking about agri-food as well.
This brings us back, Simone, to the idea that of, you know, the starting example. I think either Simone or Fausto gave the example. I forgot. Sorry, guys. One of the two of you told us one single product. No, one single product can be, you know, take canapa. That I don't know if canapa is in English as well. I'm gonna check this out. Maybe it is also in English, canapa, boh, non lo so, comunque ci siamo capiti. What is
you
the...
can use hemp. You can use hemp oil and...
Hemp, vabbè, insomma, hemp. Lot of innovation can be on a product like that, you know, you just have that single product. So once again, let's not get focused on the fact that if you have only one product, no, you don't have innovation and open innovation. Your product can indeed become come si dice, a platform. One of the most favorite examples used by me when we discuss about this is the restaurant business. Okay, restaurants are restaurants. What is it? You know, and think about the innovation that takes place in a restaurant, in a Michelin-starred restaurant. I remember this guy that became like a very much a big follower of Henry Chesbro, a chef from Barcelona, he is closing down his restaurant for 3 months every year because he's doing active R&D. And besides the pandemic, he's closing down 3 months every year. Because he's basically doing research on the ingredients, on the type of, basically he's expert in molecular food, but he's also to find new partnership with airline industry to deliver the food on airplanes, or to franchise his image and go on TV, or explore new ways to project that single product that he has in a sort of variety of ways. So open innovation doesn't necessarily have to do with the fact that you stop being centered on one single project. It's fine. You can be centered on one single product or service offerings, or a combination, you may call it whatever you want, and still be very, 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 very much open. Yeah. Writing all these things down. Guys, maybe I can share this slide because it's becoming very interesting. I'm of products. Guido knows me that I'm very much addicted to the whiteboards when I lecture. So it's a drama for me not to have the whiteboards. Let me share my PowerPoint at this point. After 1 hour I've been talking. Let me start the lesson, by the way. We are at slide 0. Vabbè, che disastro. Guido non mi paga. Allora, no? Dov'è? Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Open innovation, the ultimate lesson. No, what I was... Vabbè.
We see the PowerPoint, but it is already time for the first break.
No,
Because...
okay, va bene. So let me just go to the first break. Before we go to the first break, let's get rid of... This is Henry Chesbrough, by the way, the guy that coined the term open innovation. I got rid of him because I want to ask you, then we get, after the break, to the definition of open innovation. But if I ask you, so we said very interesting things. Let me write them down, Guido, before we go to the break, because otherwise I forget them. So what is not open innovation? And I think this is interesting. So if we think about the starting point of this discussion, let's say that open innovation is not about identifying fancy growth models of startups to become Google / unicorns and the like. So that this is not necessarily open innovation. Okay, it's not necessarily this. Okay, so first, and think about VR media as an example. So open innovation also is not necessarily about high tech. It's not necessarily about high tech sector. Think about food. We made the example of food, Barilla, Italcementi. I gave you the example of Italcementi, and you name it. So it's not necessarily an high tech phenomenon. Then think about the case of Danieli that I contested to come si chiama, Guido. No, it is not about freeing staff technology from IP. Okay, it's not about, and maybe it is the opposite. If we have time, I will play for you an original recording that I have of a very big opponent of open innovation, saying that open innovation is only about exchanging intellectual property. So absolutely, we don't need to give away the fact that we want IP around open innovation. When we discussed about Luxottica, we came to a very important point. The Luxottica case shows us that open innovation is not about outsourcing slash stopping. Quante P? Stopping, mi sembra 2 P. Spiamo. Stopping, no, stopping sounds like a bad word. Stopping internal R&D. So we, for reasons that we will explain you later, actually keeping on and investing in internal R&D is indeed truly part of an open innovation phenomenon. The case of Workwear, in order to try and defend myself, because Faust immediately found a case of that probably is right, is closed innovation, so I needed to find counter arguments when I discussed about maybe Workwear having some aspects of open innovation. We had to get out of R&D, and I explained you that when open innovation does not have only to do with the way R&D is managed within the corporation. It has to do with the business model, with the marketing, with the go-to-market strategy of the company. And however, let's keep in mind that open innovation is not necessarily a way to increase the number of products that my company produce. It's not necessary. I can be open, and I can my product can be the platform for open innovation. So let's please remember this, that I don't necessarily have to increase the number of products in order to be open innovation. Last but not least, the very good point made by our friend from Puglia about Divella, that is taking us outside R&D, but it is something that we cannot keep separated by the firm strategy and by corporate strategy and by culture, so it is indeed part of the box theory of a company. And indeed, when we discuss about open innovation, we want to discuss about also corporate strategy, corporate culture, and you will see that they matter so much in the discussion about, in the execution on open innovation. Quindi, having said that, now that you know what is not open innovation, let's take a break, because after a break we can get started with a definition about open innovation. Ok? Quanto dura il break, Guido?
Well, considering that it was half an hour ago, we could, let's say, put together 2 and say 15 minutes, and then we start back at 3:40, and then maybe we make another one before 6 p.m.
3:40.
Yes.
Va bene? Ok.
40.
I'm here if people want to entertain me with their life stories. I'm here. So, ok, va bene, interrompo la condivisione. Ci vediamo tra 15 minuti, 15 minutes.
Ciao.
Come va, Guido? Come stai?
Aspetta che stavo cercando esempi di open innovation. Adesso aspetta che Non posso interrompere la registrazione, quindi devo...
Deve essere politically correct?
Sì. No, devo semplicemente stare attento a quel che dico, perché poi ovviamente uno può... Lo possiamo...
No, ma il problema è esempi di non open innovation, un casino, però questa cosa di work è veramente, adesso me la guardo perché potrebbe essere quella.
Stavo cercando degli esempi carini di open innovation per condividerli semplicemente come casi interessanti. Siccome prima con Danieli parlavamo di altre aziende che hanno dei modelli di innovazione, diciamo, interessanti da cui potenzialmente trarre qualche ispirazione, gli avevo citato ABB e allora stavo cercando proprio qualcosa relativamente ad ABB. Tu hai contatti interni in Italia?
Sì, il presidente in giù. Poi avevo fatto una lezione per Sace, che è stata comprata da ABB. ABB è molto interessante. Poi avevamo un contatto, purtroppo non lavora più lì, nell'ufficio di proprietà intellettuale. Loro hanno un ufficio di proprietà intellettuale molto sofisticato. Sì, quindi è una bella azienda, è bellissima.
A me interessava, ad esempio, la parte, come si chiama? Un po' di, diciamo, Umberto. Ah, ok. Just waiting in the lobby. Ah, ecco qua, l'Innovation Bootcamp. C'è la loro parte di Corporate Incubator Accelerator, quindi quella parte lì mi interessava. Vediamo se trovo qualcosa.
Ciao.
Ehi.
Molto interessante.
Alberto, sei in mute.
Là. Non hai sentito quando ti ho detto di ABB?
No, mi hai detto che avevi un contatto interno dell'IPR, ma poi
Scusami, no, stavo parlando da solo. Per fortuna mi hai detto che ero in mute. E mi ha dato in mute quando ho messo la cuffietta, perché se no non riesco ad allontanarmi per farmi il caffè. Dicevo che ho sentito quello che mi hai detto, no? Dell'incubatore.
Sì.
E sarebbe carino, proviamoci, andiamo. Io recupero insomma un po' di contatti. Se hai voglia di fare qualcosa con loro, sì. Loro sono sempre, insomma, è un'azienda molto collaborativa, ecco, ed è un caso molto interessante da studiare. Da studiare e anche fare cose con loro.
Utilizzare il casetto della Pearson come ponte, come testa di ponte. Per poi fare
Volentieri, sì, loro sta funzionando quel sistema lì del Pearson come testa di ponte o è una grande perdita di tempo invece?
No, stanno cominciando ad arrivare tanti casetti, quindi nel giro di un qualche mese saremo operativi, pienamente operativi. Ci è voluto un po' di tempo, ma alla fine insomma siamo bene. Però scusa, ho interrotto Simone che stava parlando.
Scusa Simone, dicevi Simone?
Ho visto che Guido ha visto il link sul chat della pasta Barilla 3D printed. Hanno fatto un concorso di idee, praticamente hanno fatto un corso di idee, quindi molto open innovation, perché qualunque persona poteva mandare il design della pasta che voleva stampare, poi hanno scelto le 10 migliori, una cosa del genere.
La tiriamo fuori questa storia del coinvolgimento della... Io non so se gliel'ho ispirata io sta cosa qua, cioè non vorrei averla, perché l'ho fatto una lezione con quelli di Barilla. Di quando è questo coso della 3D, della pasta 3D? Quando è che l'hanno
2015, mi sa,
lanciato?
2015-16.
Non so, siamo lì però, perché gli ho fatto una lezione sulle community, le community of practice, però loro sono molto orientati al coinvolgimento degli utenti, delle persone.
Ma a volte, non so, è un po' politically incorrect, ma a volte le aziende fanno anche questo per una questione di, come si dice, di immagini, no? Poi se ne fregano abbastanza dei risultati, nel senso, quanto è fare per fare apparire bello e quanto è che poi di fatto usano queste cose.
Guarda, un caso clamoroso così è stato... non so se c'è qualcuno che sta ascoltando, che dobbiamo parlare in inglese, se no continuo in italiano. If anybody is interested, we switch to English, but anyway, otherwise we stick to Italian. So complain. Dicevo, un caso che secondo me è, come dici tu, una cosa di marketing, è stato nel lancio della Fiat 500, che avevano fatto un programma che si chiamava 500, Fiat 500 Wants You. E avevano creato questo sistema CAD semplificato per customizzarti la tua Fiat 500. Ma alla fine le uniche cose che potevi veramente customizzarti erano gli specchietti retrovisori, che potevi averli un po' di diversi tipi, e la combinazione dei colori interni dell'auto. Quindi insomma,
sembra un po' come Ford, no? Potete scegliere qualunque
capito?
colore, basta che sia nera.
Più o meno l'hai detto tu. Però la vendevano come: vogliamo il tuo contributo creativo,
sì.
coinvolgimento dell'utente.
Sì.
Però la Barilla ha avuto sempre invece questo approccio un po' di forte coinvolgimento degli utenti, grandissima empatia. Loro la basano tutto praticano molto anche questa idea dell'empatia con l'utente finale.
Secondo me, se la mettono in vendita, la gente la comprerebbe, questa pasta disegnata un po' in modo strano, specialmente nel mercato americano, che è molto innovativo, no? Loro sono presenti in America, anzi mi sa che ora come si dice, la proprietà è americana, giusto? Di New York, se non sbaglio.
Non credo, no, l'hanno ricomprata. Cioè,
L'hanno
bravo,
ricomprata?
per un periodo l'aveva comprato questo fondo americano, poi invece però sono tornati indietro. No, l'ha ricomprata la famiglia adesso. Ed è la Barilla. La famiglia Barilla. Ma anche tipo, un altro esempio, la Lego. Lego ha la possibilità ti iscrivi a una piattaforma e crei le tue costruzioni della Lego e poi le compri, no? Tu crei questa tua costruzione, Lego Create mi pare si chiama, e poi da lì, una volta che hai creato la tua costruzione, poi fai il checkout e ti compri tutti i mattoncini che servono per fare quella costruzione lì. No, ci sono tantissimi esempi. Quello che si chiama user-led innovation, poi ne parliamo, con l'idea di coinvolgere moltissimo gli utenti finali. C'è un bellissimo sole in terrazza, però sai che fa freddo, infatti, fa ancora freddo per mettersi. L'anno scorso durante il lockdown ho fatto di fatto lezioni in terrazza.
Vabbè, qua nevica di nuovo. È nevicato ieri mattina e oggi ho appena visto fuori, sta nevicando un pochino.
Okay. Ma Guido, con Nicola avete finito lezione o fa di nuovo anche lui domani?
No, ho finito.
Cosa ha fatto ieri e oggi?
Esatto. Quindi in teoria tu dovevi arrivare stamattina a Trieste, poi si mangiava tutti assieme.
Io buono, ma non dirmelo, guarda. Non vedo i miei, ma tu sai da quanto tempo non vedo i miei genitori io? Cioè, da quanto, cioè, i bimbi non vedono i nonni da quest'estate. I bimbi non vedono i nonni dall'estate. Quindi sì, clamoroso. C'ho lezione al MIB la prossima settimana, uguale, che insomma per me era una scusa per passare 3 giorni in Friuli.
Ma vieni su? O ti fanno fare...
No. Oddio, non lo so, ma sto dando per scontato di no, che non...
Ma io ho fatto comunque durante la... Cos'era? Ho fatto adesso a gennaio-febbraio, ho fatto comunque in semipresenza, dipende dal programma. Nell'MBA ho fatto in presenza e alcuni di loro, ce n'erano 10-12 di loro in presenza e gli altri in remoto, si alternavano. Però io ero in presenza.
Chiedo a Vicky, ha fatto bene a me, guarda, tanto sono 3 giorni, me li sono già liberati, quindi... sì.
Sì, verifica perché comunque c'è un rispetto rigoroso delle procedure. Loro sono addirittura distribuiti su 2 aule diverse, quindi quelli che ci sono, e poi una gran parte sono a casa, ecco.
Tu sei vaccinato, no? Mi hai detto? Che ti aveva fatto anche effetto un po' il vaccino.
Sì, la prima dose, sì.
Allora,
Aspetta che chiedo a una figlia se mi porta un arancio.
Mi sono mangiato una banana, mi sono mangiato.
Guido, I just wanted to tell you and to Alberto that tomorrow I will join, of course, the session, but a little bit later, since we have an unexpected meeting at our department. So I will be maybe 40 minutes late or something like that, but then I will join. So sorry for this.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Petra, for advising.
Sorry, I didn't hear. Can you repeat?
Thank you so much for noticing, for telling us.
Well, yeah, this is at least polite.
I I have also a meeting at 4 p.m. It's an unexpected meeting due to the ANVUR evaluation, you know. Italian guys, yeah. Okay, so I will leave at 4.
What is new about the evaluation?
Oh, a lot of things. Now we are approaching a deadline.
Yeah, I know. This is bad.
Yeah, and so our director need that we select the product. We have a lot of instructions. Okay, maybe it could be complex, even if the number of publications are it's a small number, but you have to select it accurately.
Yeah, I know. We already made the selection, and we used actually, I don't know, you in guys, Unibus, that is the software developed by University of Basilicata. But in several cases, it was also precise for us as non-bibliometric, but in some other, it gives, you know, very strange results. I had, for example, a publication that was ranked super high in a journal that is nothing special, a journal that was nothing special, but actually this journal that is nothing special was nothing special in 3 years out of 4. And then it happened that in just 1 year, he skyrocketed, and I don't understand why. And I published in that year, in that journal, and so it appeared as a proposal in Q1 to be selected at any cost. But actually, the paper was nothing special, and the journal also was nothing special. So at the end,
if you do not have any further peer review, it's okay. Just bibliometric evaluation, it's okay.
No. We have 100% peer review. 100% peer review. So we are non-bibliometric, and it is 100% peer review. That's why I didn't select it, because the paper was really nothing special, and the journal as well.
Mm-hmm. And before we continue, I just wanted to tell you, I mean, it will be probably published by the end of this year. I mean, since we were discussing, and thank you, Alberto, for sending me that really interesting piece of overview on that knowledge transfer metrics. I don't know if you are aware, but this expert group went one step further. So
I know that it was going to happen. Allora,
yeah.
tell me, I'm very curious.
We are now at the moment, we are actually developing a composite indicator. Andrea Picaluga is also again engaged. So we are basically the same group. We got additional one colleague from Spain. And so we are now also considering the development of a tool and the composite indicator for measuring knowledge transfer. So I believe that will, to be honest, it's a very hard task. You can imagine. I mean, it has to capture so many things, and of course find the balance between practical and empirical and whatsoever. But I really believe it will be also a valuable contribution for this aspect, especially for knowledge transfer professionals.
I'd love to. Well, is my friend Caratti also continues to be involved? Giancarlo Caratti?
He's still head of GRC. He's still head of unit. So he was the one who actually started with the story. So was exactly.
But
so
because
he started this first group, and now we are we don't meet with him regularly. Expert group meets regularly, but then every few months we meet with Giancarlo and few people. So where we report on our progress. So basically, it was based on his idea that we need to go one step further. So yeah.
And Andrea, by the way, Andrea says hello back to you.
Thank you.
Volevo dirti, what I heard is that you were going to also apply this tool.
Yes.
So it's not only constructing. Sorry, maybe I did not understand the point, but you're basically going to also apply the tool, not only develop.
Exactly, to develop a tool which will be Excel based, let's call it like that, because GRC already has certain tools developed So this actually this first report with the data and with the chosen indicators that we selected as appropriate for development of the composite indicator. Based on that, we will try to construct this tool that will be actually usable by TTOs, universities, knowledge transfer practitioners, etc., etc. So it will be in a form, first as an Excel, probably after also in a form of software that will be widely.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And one thing, Petra, that I particularly like, and we can maybe get started again, of your work. So Petra is part of this expert group about knowledge transfer metrics. Is, Guido, something that you, as a converted quantitative guy, because you were one of us before, and then you liked your quantitative theories now, and we like you less, but we love you still, is something that it was very striking of the work that Petra is working on with these other experts, is that these measurement systems that they are developing to understand knowledge transfer throughout Europe is not a measurement of like the, come si chiama, that indicator that you were mentioning before, no, of what is the best no, paper or the best patent or the best or the highest rank, no, knowledge transfer or technology transfer system, but they are focusing on fit, on strategic fit between the knowledge producing institute and a little bit the environment and the goal of this organization, because the starting point is that we don't want all of us to become Silicon Valley. We don't want to become all of us Stanford. No, there is one Stanford is out there, but maybe in Udine or in Bari or in Rab or in Zagreb, we have other goals. Therefore, we need a knowledge transfer matrix that fits our goals. If we want only lifestyle enterprises that produce only well-paid jobs, go for it. No, we measure it. And if you produce only companies that die after 1 or 2 years, we tell you. If your goal was to produce companies that get a lot of European funding, we tell you that. No, look, your companies don't grow but get a lot of European money. Okay, then do whatever you want with the numbers that you are generating. So this, Petra, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I really liked about the paper that I read, the first one of your work. So kind of like having a matrix that is not ranking, but is measuring, is mapping basically the situation.
Exactly, the thing that you mentioned, and just another thing which is very important in this aspect, and this was actually the goal of this, and this is why I think this can be widely implemented, as you mentioned before. It's about harmonization. So, for example, if Germany Research Institute has like billions of euros for their research, and of course that they will be producing I don't know, I will now say 100 patents per year, for example, patent applications, sorry. And you have University of Zagreb or Belgrade or, you know, somewhere. So the point of harmonization is that even though these, let's say, smaller universities in terms of size, budget, etc., if they don't produce 100 patents, that doesn't mean that they're not successful in knowledge transfer. So this is about finding an appropriate balance, you know, for measuring. So that's one aspect. And another thing is, since of course this knowledge transfer, it's a very complex process. The point is that you really need, as you mentioned, to capture everything. So both to consider And this was actually one of the most important conclusions from this study, that we actually divided these, let's say, standard metrics into both input and output indicators. But these, let's say, input indicators needs to take also into consideration environment in which each university, TTO, company, whatsoever operates, together with the impact that they will actually with the internal factors that will actually give them actually what they can use for implementation of their knowledge transfer activities. And then you can provide certain outputs, which are, of course, then divided both on the impact in terms of economic impact, social impact, etc., but also on the activities that you will produce, like invention disclosures, spin-offs, licensing and assignments, because we didn't really specify that, we didn't actually list it, which is interesting, granted patents or patent applications as a core indicators, because we found this quite difficult for harmonization of these activities. Sorry, I took maybe too much space for this.
So I don't know, Guido, what you think about this, but it's I think it's so interesting, this this discussion about this phenomenon about knowledge transfer, because of course knowledge transfer is indeed about open innovation, and this idea of the knowledge metric is really it's interesting for me, because it is about exactly this, to find a way to measure without ranking, to measure kind of like giving a measurement that fits with what we were saying before, no? That there are different styles of management, of strategic priorities, and therefore I need to find a way that my measurement fits with what I want to measure. Valeria was saying that when she was talking about the Divella, no? For them, if we put collaborations, maybe it's not, they're not interested in that as a metric, no? And getting a customized approach to what you measure is very important. So something we need to keep in mind as well when we discuss about open innovation is indeed that you want also to measure, and something that we want to discuss about in this lecture is indeed how do we measure open innovation results. And indeed, Petra, the point that you made is very important to me. It's very important to me that a measurement system to be something that decision makers find useful needs to be something that reflects the nature of the organization. And doesn't only discriminate success and failure, but is really understanding what is behind. Yeah. Ok? Va bene, possiamo andare avanti?
Let's go.
Vai. We discussed about what is not open innovation, and let me try to get my to share my my slides. We have Arianna who's entering. Let me share my slides so that I can show you what I want to show you. I lost my presentation. 1 second, bear with me. In the meanwhile, if you want to tell us a joke.
I had a comment from what you were saying before about maybe a company wants to grow and then fails. So maybe you have many that then fail, or a company just survives with European projects in a long time. And maybe that's also because of culture, right? In the US, there's much more risk-taking people and capital also. And in Europe, we are much more risk-averse. So that's why maybe we prefer to have a company that doesn't grow exponentially, but it keeps going on, then try to make 10 and fail and make 1, because it's not well seen in Europe, and it will be harder to get funding after failing with 1 or 2 companies, right?
Yeah. This is absolutely correct, and I think we want to keep this in mind when we have a discussion about what is and what is not open innovation, and also what are the goals of an open innovation system. So, and your point is well taken in terms of what I was saying before about what is not open innovation. Let's not focus only on the unicorns and the companies that take a lot of risk. Something that is about open innovation has to do also with risk, also with risk sharing, and about this, let me show you a research have been conducted. Okay, let me show you this. 1 second, because I'm curious to see what is your point of view here. So very much in line of what you just said, Fausto. Now, in management, there are these 2 different approaches when we discuss about change, no? And on one side, we discussed about the proactiveness to change. We'll go back to open innovation, but just to give you this, I think it could be useful. Proactiveness of change is a firm orientation to making effort to seize new opportunities, anticipate market demands, and actively shape the external environment. No, so how much a firm is able to see new opportunity and to get to these opportunities fast enough. Then you have the willingness to change, which is a little bit different. Both dimensions matter a lot when it comes to open innovation, and it is the willingness to change. So a kind of like positive behavior toward the implementation of change, change of work, change of administrative processes. These 2 dimensions characterize what we discuss when we try to map out, with an eye, different changing environments. No? And if you want to play a game with me, no, this is the result of a research I conducted recently on 21 European companies that I've interviewed that received a lot of funding, and they had a significant open innovation strategy. You would expect, no? I was trying to describe their approach towards change, and I imagine them as either reactive or proactive towards change, either willing to change or non-willing to change. Okay, so the idea was this 2x2 matrix. So when you have companies that express a low willingness to change and they are very reactive, it's not that these companies don't necessarily change, but they change in a way that is defensive of their business model and defensive of their market. So going back to the example you made at the beginning of this lesson, this company that has only one product. This product can very well be a platform, and these companies might become very, very aggressive in defending their own business model and their own platform. Does it mean that these companies are closed innovators? No, I don't think so. Okay, it might very much mean that these companies, like ostriches, are very much defensive and are very good at keeping their ground. Okay, they have the resources, they have whatever it takes to do it. So you imagine when we discuss about innovative companies, that they're all tigers, right? They are willing to change their business model. They're able to get to new markets very fast. In seeking out examples, I mean, it's a very limited sample, but these are all companies that received a lot of money from the European Union through the European Innovation Council program. So these companies are top of the game when it comes to innovation in Europe. These companies are companies that also reacted very well with the pandemic. If I have time, Guido, tomorrow I will show you the exact findings of this study because I think it's interesting. Besides the fact that these companies are also very much open innovators. We only have two companies in this category. So willing to change their business model, willing to change their process, and grasping new opportunities. We found many other companies, for example, that behaved as open innovators, willing to change their business models, their approach to strategy, but in order to maintain their markets. We were talking about Barilla before. We are talking about a lot of pharmaceutical companies. Some of these guys are very much are very good at looking out for ideas, but to maintain their markets. I use the word ocelots company because for those of you that know Italian literature, I'm referring to Tommaso di Lampedusa and the famous book The Ocelots, I Gattopardi, that talks about Sicilian politics and the way that the phrase, the catching phrase of that book is, let's change everything so that everything remains the same. So a lot of good ideas can come to the company, to these ocelots, to maintain the status quo. Capito cosa sto dicendo? Cioè, in my opinion, a lot of open innovations are like this. They look out for opportunities to defend, and they are able to be very chameleontic to make sure that they control their own markets, their own territory. Okay. To the opposite extreme, you have the GOATs companies. I like the GOATs a lot. These guys don't like to innovate their process, their business models. But they are very good at seeking new ideas outside their walls to replicate their business models into other markets. Okay. So they have their way of doing business, and they try to franchise it, and replicate it into other sectors. And I think this is interesting. And we were talking maybe about Barilla before, and the way that they are during the break as well. Some of the things that strikes me about Barilla, about the empathy that they put and the closeness to the user, they have used that approach in a very open way to a variety of products, from snacks to pasta, to alternative food to meat, and but you can see the imprint is very much the same over and over. The thing about 3D pasta that you shared in the chat is very, very close, at least in the philosophy, to allow users to play with the pasta, with the fact that, I don't know when it was, Guido, aiutami, 30 anni fa, 30 years ago, we were studying Barilla because they recreated in their own R&D center in Parma la casa del mulino bianco, the perfect Italian family, and they were testing products within that in the Barilla R&D, engaging with the users. I see a lot of similarities, of course, into other sectors, into other markets, but that was just an example. So my point is to close what is not open innovation, to understand what it is open innovation. Open innovation can be found across the board through these to these categories of companies. On one side, market, on one side, business models. What I'm interested and what I'd like to convey to you is that even ostriches, not only tigers, even goats, even ocelots, have their own way to change, and they can apply open innovation. But the way that they apply open innovation, and in general innovation management, is very, very different. Okay, will fit a different purpose of the company. No, there is this word called effectuation. Effectuation has to do with translating your strategic goals into practice. Okay, and the way you translate your strategic goals into practice depends very much not only in the way that you want to convey these goals, but also what your goals are. So if we want to go back to the definition of open innovation now, having said all of this, now I think we are ready to discuss about the manual definition of open innovation, dove che siete finiti, che I need to share my slides, no? What is the manual definition of open innovation? Okay, so the first time that I ask you, take a piece of paper and a pen and start to write something. So in an open innovation context, I am assuming that the company is combining internal ideas, external ideas, as well as internal and external path to markets. Okay, as I am trying to innovate. One of the central elements is that this combination of technology is then directed towards a business model. Okay. So we discussed a lot about what is not open innovation. Now, this instead is what is open innovation. And you see here that we have a lot of components. Okay. First of all, we have an internal engine of ideas. This is why I said before, do not forget about internal R&D. Do not forget about internal investment. Open innovation doesn't tell you, stop doing internally. Okay, it's telling you combine what you have internally, what you can find outside. Okay. Second element of this definition. Remember that is not only about R&D. It's not about idea generation. It's not about only technological development. It is about the combination of this into architectures, systems, business models. Okay. And it's not only about combining ideas for a business model, but it could be also finding alternatives to my business model. So it can be that open innovation has to do with the innovation of the business model. We will get to this. I know that I gave you a lot of elements, but basically this is the entire structure of the lesson. And when we discuss about innovation in general, we have in mind a funnel. Why do we have in mind a funnel? For a very, very obvious reason. In the advanced phases of the funnel here, it is less expensive to organize brainstorming exercises, crowdsourcing competitions, talent factories, acquisition, you name it, idea generation elements that are not so expensive to have. You know, I can have many different initiatives at the beginning of the funnel. As we move forward towards implementation, the more and more we get closer and closer to the market, the more it becomes expensive to develop individual ideas. No? So selection becomes an important element of the funnel. But here is where it gets in. How, and the question is for you, how do I select in general, if you are in charge of this funnel here, how do you select initiatives to make them go from phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? What is the criteria that you use? I'll let you think about this, but I want to have an answer. Huh? How would you choose which ideas to take forward? And what ideas would you kill? Name me the criteria that you would use. I would combine novelty and profitability to create a mix. Okay.
I think it depends a lot who you'll have in the company and who will be the winning faction, let's say. Maybe researchers will want just novel or the most interesting ideas, but someone will need to pay for it and you need to find customers for it. So you'll need to look at the market as well. And that's a different criteria, of course.
It depends. It depends on who you have in the company. Okay.
Yeah.
This is an interesting answer.
I mean, it depends
Anyone
on the
else?
mix of the teams.
Yeah.
You know, you might have a team that looks more to the market and make money, and you might have people that look more about doing stuff that they like. So it's a fight, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say that, okay, maybe I am from perspective of tech transfer office, but in anyhow, I think that the let's say the procedure would be more or less the same. I mean, the approach. So basically, okay, you can have a little bit of subjective aspect, like a feeling is important together with previous experience and knowing the specific area from where the specific product, service, technology comes. But I would definitely be more focused on some objective criteria and on certain evaluation of the ideas, both commercial, also IP. Even though the hair goes like this when we mention IP, but in anyhow, I believe that some objective criteria of valuation and evaluation of commercial potential should be relevant in deciding on what to go. I mean, after all, you are on the market. It's not like you know you have a comfortable situation and okay, I will do the research and what I like. So you know, this is a completely different aspect.
Okay, very good point. The protection, the dimension of protection, the evaluation of market potentials. I think Guido, you mentioned novelty, right? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I would use a portfolio logic to combine a little bit more risky projects that maybe are more uncertain in terms of expected returns with others that maybe bear less risk, but that can also be, in theory, let's say, less profit. So I would try to, let's say, to create a sound mix, let's say, using a portfolio logic.
Maybe selecting those that are in line with the knowledge, the resources, and the skills that are already belonging to the company.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow, you would do a very good job in a stage gate process. Product knowledge mix present in the company. This is very much in line, no? I think with Petra, with the type of work that you were referring before as in the evaluation processes in the knowledge transfer metrics. Yeah. So I'm select projects that are in line with the product, the marketing mix, maybe with my markets, no?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? I think we covered most of.
Can I say?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Can I say something? I would use a word that is very unpopular.
Vai, bellissimo.
No, if I can say something disruptive, which is the unpopular words. No, but the word I would use is that I would select project regarding a product I believe with.
I lost you. Regarding a project that
I believe in.
Okay.
If I can tell you just in 20 seconds, no more, a story, a funny story, which is about microalgae. Macroalgae.
I think I know the story.
Named spirulina.
Giusto, sì, la sapevo. Vai. It's a wonderful story, I think.
I don't know if maybe if you already, I don't know, but maybe the others, they don't know. I don't know. I don't want to.
Please. No.
20 seconds. The history is like this. In my region, in Puglia, let's say just a couple of years ago, we didn't even know the existence of microalgae, in particular the fact that they can be consumed, as a food. And regarding spirulina in particularly, we all basically thought that it was the name of a clown, very popular in TV in Italy some few years ago. Just to say that it was completely an unknown product. So there was no possible design thinking on customers, on final users, on clients about the consume of spirulina algae in any way. But a few youngest co-founders of a small company, they decided to believe in the fact that this product is so healthy and so compatible and environmentally sustainable that they decide to bet on this product and to produce spirulina and to commercialize spirulina, although nobody knows about spirulina in Puglia, okay? They did it, and they, in fact, inverted completely the design thinking model about end users. They basically were kind of, mentoring and teaching, all about the fantastic, let's say the fantastic potentials, of the use of this product. So that's why I said that if you believe a product or a project, if you believe if you are completely, let's say, sure about the benefits, then you go for it.
Well, I love this story, and it's kind of like low-tech version of marketing of technology, really. Like Guido, correct me if I'm wrong, but what we heard right now is what we teach when we discuss about ignore the customer, no, and go for it, because you have a vision of the product. This is what inspired basically most of product development in in Silicon Valley, from the vision of Steve Jobs to Intel to how most of the time you have to create the market, you have to educate users, you have to surprise users, and you have a sense of direction that is probably unknown to the market. So the users sometimes don't know, and you have to basically reverse the design thinking logic. So I very much love the spirulina story because of this. And I agree with this. It's a very interesting criteria, basing my selection on my vision, okay, on what I have in mind. So portfolio logic for Guido, in terms of selection, evaluation of market potentials, to the opposite extreme, evaluation of my vision in spite of market potential. We said it's very subjective, and sometimes it very much depends on who you have in the company, and sometimes in the position of power within the company. Let's be realistic. What can you appropriate? We will get to appropriation at a certain point, I hope, if Guido allows me another 20 hours appropriation, because if this is the speed that we are taking, I'm co-designing this course with you guys, so it's like we are at slide 7 of 88, so buonanotte a secchio. E poi I love this, the fit between the knowledge, product, marketing is present in the company, let's not develop things that might be good ideas, but we just don't know much about it. Now, question and other points of view. How do we select project to advance in the innovation funnel into this thing here? Are we satisfied with? Is this slide complete? If so, next question is, how do we choose which criteria to choose? Help me understand which is the best method, or if I have an alternative. They're all great, They're all great ideas. So how to choose which one is the best? And Valeria, are you raising your hand?
No, it was the one before.
Okay, from before.
Sorry.
Cioè, a big problem. How do I choose? And indeed, what are the choices of choosing? Because even in the very well balanced Bortoluzzi approach to portfolio management, you might miss out big times, The first book developed by Chesbrough, where he introduced the open innovation idea, he used the case of Xerox. Okay, Xerox had the photocopy machine company, had a wonderful research center in Palo Alto called Xerox Park, and basically his entire book on open innovation describes on how Xerox made horrible mistakes in the selection process of projects that had to advance in the funnel. Okay, because it was using these criteria. Some of the criteria and a combination of criteria. Was using a portfolio approach. It was using combination, go-to-market, in a very sophisticated way. These were smart people. But the key aspect was that this is a choice for internally develop these projects. Because now I'm going to give you another option. And the other option is this. Yes, there is the funnel, but maybe we might want to make our life a little bit more complicated, no? And enter in a world where we do have to make choices, but we do not kill the projects that we don't develop, come si dice, internally. And also, we decide that we might get from other companies ideas that facilitate our advancement, or companies or industry, university, and like the type of work that it takes to get to the market. And not only we go into our markets, but we also decide that when a company doesn't fit our market, okay, we try to go into alternate markets. So open innovation is this. Some people told me, well, Alberto, you are just explaining us how not to throw away the baby with the dirty water. No? Sapete the expression? Throw away the water. And it's a little bit like this. I'm giving you an alternative, you know, the red pill and the blue pill. No, I'm giving you an alternative. You have, in order to maintain order in an R&D management process, the only alternative you have is this, you know, corporate limits, internal ideas that might get in from outside. I hire the people, I get them to the market. There is no other way to keep order in the process, to keep an economic balance, no, between the activities that I invest on. But if for 1 second I say, va bene Alberto, this is internally development, but are there any other alternatives than killing our ideas, than investing ourselves in the development of these ideas? That is where open innovation comes into picture. And that is where our borders of the organizations open up. And that is where a lot of new forms of activities, not only related to R&D, become very much interesting. I have to, otherwise Guido doesn't pay me, and he's paying me a lot of money, so I need to make sure that I deliver this lesson the right way, to give you at least some definitions, because otherwise you go out there and you tell, hey, Alberto gave me a lesson about open innovation and now I know everything. And then they tell you, okay, so you know what is the difference between an outside in and inside out process, or a coupled process. So I need to tell you at least these basic definitions about open innovation. Because for 2 reasons. First of all, I need to get paid. The second is you need a taxonomy, because as we open up, you have a lot of new activities that you need to somehow manage within the organization. And think that in the last 10 years, if you go on LinkedIn, 70,000 people out there call themselves open innovation managers. So you need to give them something to do to these people. And okay, so you need to give them some activities to manage. Outside in processes are the combination of activities that I'm using to enrich my knowledge base through a variety of stuff. We'll talk about this later, but it's mostly knowledge sourcing. I'm getting knowledge in based on the assumption that not all the smart people work for my organization. Okay, so think about the outside-in process as the implementation of not all the smart people work for my company. I do not need to replicate all the knowledge of the world. Ok? Chiaro. E poi is the opposite, the inside-out process. Maybe I'm not the best company to take to market something. I can combine some of the processes of innovation that I develop internally with help from outside. Okay? With complementary assets, or voila, give it to you so that you develop, transferring, selling IP, transferring ideas, transferring people to let them score a goal for another team. Maybe I'll get a share of that new goal. This is shifting a little bit the focus, is diminishing a little bit the pressure. I'm not alone, okay? And therefore, with the outside-in process and the inside-out processes, I do design the type of activities that characterize the type of work that an open innovation manager has to do. Then you have, of course, also a coupled process that has to do with a co-creation done with partners, with alliances of both knowledge combination and knowledge exploitation. Okay, think about joint ventures, think about technology alliances, think about the definition, the design of technology platforms that are probably very interesting and very important for the projects that you guys are developing. Okay, so are we happy? Are we clear? This is the canvas for an open innovation manager. I just done an incredible big push. I'm pushing the boundaries of innovation in a much wider way. This means what? That complexity is growing exponentially. Okay. So even if I use the portfolio approach or marketing mix, this process here, the funnel, is much simpler. It's much simpler to manage than this mess here. Okay. This is why we talk about open innovation strategy, because it's much more complex here in this cloud of dots to follow trajectories inside in, outside in, and inside out. Okay. The closed innovation system is much more organized, much easier to manage. Okay. On the other hand, I'm dealing with a much more complex situation and environment. Okay. Okay, and then we can skip this slide. This is with my friend Sabine Brunsviker. And by the way, if your name is simple, you cannot write papers about open innovation. So Bortoluzzi will never write a paper, but because there's a very simple surname. So everyone that is working in open innovation has very complex last names like Brunsviker, Chesbro, Vanna Verbicki. No, it's everyone has a very difficult last name, and so getting the names of the people that write about open innovation right is the first task in mastering an open innovation. So anyway, Sabine and Henry map different open innovation practices according on these two very simple dimensions. The direction that I talked to you about, inbound, outbound, and also the immediate compensation collected to that exchange of knowledge that happens in that particular system. So you have pecuniary and non-pecuniary forms of knowledge and technology transfer, and therefore of open innovation. Alberto, are you contradicting yourself? We just said, you said before that that Chesbrough sent you to work on intellectual property, and now you're telling me that there is a non-pecuniary form of open innovation. I'm not contradicting myself. I am just saying that if we look at informal networking, publicly funded R&D consortia, European Framework Program, for example, these are for sure open innovation projects. But profit is not the immediate goal, okay? There is a logic behind that. It's a more complex business model. For example, when I engage my customers in co-creation exercise, maybe I'm not even paying my customers, but there is a lot of value, both for me and for my customers, okay? A company might donate knowledge or time or expertise to a university, for example, for a variety of reasons. There is no profit there, but there are goals that contribute to the open innovation strategy. So on the left side of this matrix, you find more obvious business models, let's say. On the right, business models become a little bit more complex. And as we like very much complexities, we're going to keep this in mind. Have you? I'm sure you have examples for a variety of these thoughts. I want to I've talked too much, so I want to hear good stories about examples of something you've seen. We talked a lot about spin-off companies. I wonder if you have an interesting story to share with us about one of these dots on the slide.
Alberto, I have a story for you and for to share that was an interesting story that I followed, very close. It was some years ago, and there was a lot of, the theme of open innovation was really at the beginning in Europe and in Italy. We were, let's say 10 years ago, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And a very small company based not far from where I live, that they were working in the furniture industry and actually producing chairs, as many 10,000 companies around producing chairs and chairs and chairs. And actually the company decided to collaborate with an external designer, that actually a consultant, and they created this nice initiative, sort of, let's say, external open innovation contest reserved only to women designer, and the name was Only for Women, actually. And the prize was ridiculous, because for the best design there was, I think, 500 euros or 1,000 euros, so nothing really special. And for the second, classified, it was 500 euros. So again, nothing special. What was special is that they organized the award ceremony during the Salone del Mobile in Milan. So that is the most important exhibition in the world for the furniture industry. And hence, to be awarded there in front of journalists, in front of people working for magazines and so on and so forth, for a young designer can be important, can really be a big push for her career. And the interesting fact is that they were overwhelmed by projects, and after a couple of years they had to stop. They had to stop the initiative because it was too successful, and they had no possibility to exploit all the ideas that they were receiving, because they were hundreds and hundreds of ideas. Not all of them, of course, were super good, but actually even by taking the percentage of ideas that were good, they were still overwhelmed by too many ideas and had no possibility even to process them in order to decide which one to keep in-house, which one not keeping in-house, and so on and so forth. I like pretty much the story because sometimes when you read about open innovation and you see examples like Lego and other big firms, maybe you might think that open innovation is only for big firms, but actually it is not. Even a small and a smart firm can apply in a smart way open innovation and succeed thanks to open innovation. That was my contribution.
Very nice, Guido. Other examples of if we go back to the to this slide, the example that Guido gave us is very telling about the fact that I'm telling you these things are becoming more complex, but this doesn't mean that I stop choosing. And indeed, strategy and strategic thinking and strategy in the sense that I need to choose what not to do, no? Is always an important part of an open innovation strategy. Maybe even more. Even it becomes even more complex. And I have the same example, Guido, here of a company, a furniture company here in Tuscany called Edra. Edra is a highly stylish company that is basing its new generation of products on idea competitions involving designers spread all over the world. And some of Edra's most successful products are the result of this idea competition and these calls for collaboration from designers that are located very, very far from Tuscany. Edra is a small company. It's not so big, and it's incredible the variety of ideas that it has been able to leverage. So absolutely, I totally agree with you. Open innovation is not only about something that is the result of big investments and big corporate. Are there other examples you want to showcase at this point?
Can I just use another 20 seconds to tell
Please,
you
we love your 20 seconds. They're very useful.
So, this is a fantastic story because it's about miracle in a strict sense. And this combine, if I can look at your slide, the ideas and startup competitions with something which is something pecuniary, although it's not highly pecuniary, with something which is not pecuniary. And it's, let's say, a mix in between informal networking and crowdsourcing. The idea is that again in my region in Puglia, we started a few years ago with a huge program funded by the EU money to support innovative startups. I know that, again, these are words that are super misused, but in any case, these young entrepreneurs, these two guys, basically they developed this small mirror, which is able to get some very specific health parameters, like, you know, the pressure, the blood pressure,
right, yeah.
Even the level of temperature, some basic cardiac functionalities, and so on. The mirror is called Miracle Mirror, and that's what about the story is about the miracle. And the two guys, they were a very brilliant guy, but I can say a little bit kind of nerdy guys. So lots of capability in terms of scientific applications, but no way, no clue about how to get into the market. And that's why at some point, these two guys, they crossed a university, small, specialized course, and something which is very fancy is an innovation brokering course. Nevertheless, I mean, there were a few people in this course that they took the case of miracles to make the final dissertation at the end of the small course, university course. And they were able to create, of course, based on the final work they did in the course, in the innovation brokering course, they were able to create this informal network with some, let's say, a couple of TTOs, and then plus a sort of business angel, and then a few innovation agencies, and some good and smart people that were working in the knowledge transfer. So, of course, this enabling of the guys to, let's say, get in touch with some other consultancy company, and in the end, they were able, of course, to gain something that was a little bit more than money, in the sense they were able to develop finally their business canvas, and in fact, I mean, to have a more clear idea of what could be the way they can go into the market and finally sell a miracle.
This is a beautiful story because it helps me explain a key concept about innovation in the open innovation sense. Innovation stops being a long marathon, no? A race of resistance, you know, and only who's able to get to the finishing line by itself wins. Innovation becomes a relay race, staffetta, no? Come si dice. So what matters is not only the fact that I am able to go all the way from idea to the market, but also what is my position? No, in a different market, in a, let's say, in the innovation value chain. So we think about the value chain for products. Of course, if you make pizza, you make pizza, and you're not producing tomatoes. It's not. If you make automotives, probably you are an assembler and you don't make the engine, or maybe you do make the engine, but you don't make the tires or you don't make the brakes. But even within that, we can identify a division of labor within an innovation value chain. This is why Guido is so right when he says open innovation is not only for the big companies. Absolutely not. I mean, and we cannot agree more with Guido when he said this phrase, because in an innovation value chain, like the example that Valeria brought to us, is obvious that you can see a lot of space for a lot of companies that interact at various stages of the process. In my opinion, here, what matters and become very important are the interfaces, no? And because the interfaces, the change of the stick, in the relay race, in the la staffetta, in the moment that you change hand, what happens? Whoever produced the idea and has contributed so far to that idea needs to be rewarded, needs to be compensated, needs to have enough to be part of the game, to transfer your knowledge. And those of you that work in technology transfer at the TTOs, you know exactly, what is the most common. If I go back to Petra, or who's working in technology transfer offices, what is the most serious concern of the inventors that come and knock at your door? What is the most serious concern that they have?
To be honest, I mean, okay, I have this, I don't know if to say luck, but I would say luck. I mean, I work primarily as a professor where I teach tech transfer, IP, project management, etc. And on the other hand, I have an opportunity to work as a TT manager. And they basically don't have a concern from my point of view and from my experience, because they come at the office and very subjectively they say, okay, not all of them, I'm making, a broader picture, but basically they all think that they have revolutionary invention that will definitely change the world, that they will, earn a lot of money on that, for those who are not like pure scientists who consider commercialization as something I don't know what other words to use, but like dirty, okay, like prostitution of the science. So this is the thing, when working at university environment in TTOs, you have a chance to meet different profiles of scientists. So in that sense, their approaches vary, as you mentioned. So their biggest concern is I don't know, it's they just delegate to other people, their invention, and they don't basically have concerns. They need somebody who will give them a hand, and who will give them a hand with the process, who will actually lead the process, and they will be here as a help, so for providing more informations on their technology that they developed, or research result, etc., etc. So I believe maybe this is not the point, the thing that you wanted to point out. But
no, I think you're Petra. I think you're very lucky because you had very good experiences. I totally see and agree with you that you are working in a very fortunate environment, because usually, when you say, they come, in your experience, your past experience as technology transfer manager, when they came to your office, they felt ready to delegate, and to ask for help. Now, Guido, if we go back to Italy, and if we think about, and maybe some other people from CNR or other friends from the Italian University can corroborate this, making sure that we explain, that it's necessary to delegate, to let your vision also go a little bit, to leave the door open to others to contribute to what good you have done. It's a very, 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 very difficult thing to do, right? So losing control of the innovation value chain is a very important aspect, a very important problem that that cuts across. Doesn't matter if it is, if I'm giving you a compensation, peculiar or non-peculiar. It doesn't matter if I'm doing inbound or outbound open innovation, but losing controls and losing controls of the technology development, of the vision, is in my opinion, a very important aspect of concern, and something that needs to be managed when we discuss about open innovation. My friends from Italy confirm this.
Totally.
Yes.
And indeed, the next point, and I wonder, Guido, if you want to us to stretch our legs for a second, maybe we can do that, because at this point I'm opening a new chapter. The next point of concern is that is connected to this thing is about sharing knowledge. So the sharing of knowledge, that is a fundamental ingredient of the open innovation journey, is how do we motivate people to sharing knowledge. This becomes a very important aspect of our discussion. So maybe we want to take a 5 or 10 minutes break, and
yes,
to drink a glass of water, or have a logistical pit stop, and then we continue with the final rush.
5:15 we can continue, Alberto, for sure.
Okay.
I also need to go upstairs to...
Anch'io, stessa cosa. Because my kids are arriving home, so in a little bit they're going to be a big mess here.
See you later.
See you later.
Rab, ma pensa a te, from Rab, Petra from Rab, incredible. Next time we come all to Rab.
Sounds great. I will tell to my boyfriend that he will be hosting you in his house.
Yes.
And
yes.
he has a big pool.
Vabbè, you don't need pools in Rab, come on, you have the most beautiful sea.
I agree, but you have both. He has both, so
okay.
Let's use it.
Yeah, let's use it. I agree.
Sometimes it's very crowded at beaches, blah blah. So you need to have it. It's.
Yeah, these days probably having a pool, a private pool, helps a lot.
Trust me, sometimes it really does. It really does.
Ma ne uscite, se vuoi, ragazzi, sempre lo sparire, uscite. Vai. Indeed it does. And Okay. Can we consider we are back, Guido?
I think it is still 2 minutes, to be honest.
Okay, allora I'm anxious to continue. And meanwhile, I want to write Vicky about plans. About now you told me about this.
I was looking for an online course to take to attend on strategic agility, and I found one, like in Coursera. I found one from Harvard University, and it is only $7,500. So 7.500 euro.
Davvero? Madonna. Miseria.
Okay, no course on strategic agility.
Allora, volevo dire.
Ok, now we are ready. Possiamo anche finire alle 6 meno qualcosa, senza problemi.
Sì, vediamo. Insomma, quando cerco di finire una ma sto seguendo, no? Mi sembra che ci sia abbastanza.
Guido, certo che le tue attività nell'InnovaMare sono sempre belle sostanziose.
Sì.
Ci fai morire. Stamattina, guarda, ho fatto una fatica a seguire, bravissimo, però veramente di una complessità.
Ah sì, è stato così complesso, ragazzo? Nicola?
Perché ha parlato di metodi di valutazione delle startup, ha parlato anche tecniche.
Vabbè, dai,
nel senso che io mi sono segnato 2 parole chiave, dunque mi terrò a mente queste 2 paroline e basta.
Allora.
Guido, comunque io mi candido per fare la tutor del corso che hai appena menzionato.
Sì.
Quello dei 7.500.
Ho detto, mi faccio un corso sulla strategia agility.
Posso fare la tutor.
7.500 euro. Cacchio, ho detto, vediamo se c'è qualcosa di più economico in giro. Duke University, enroll now. Io quanto mi chiedono? $500 qui. Beh,
dai, allora, quello mi sembra più logico. Comunque invece se volete noi stiamo facendo partire un corso di se no puoi fare come me, Guido, che adesso noi stiamo facendo partire un corso con Stanford di Technology Management e lì il corso costa 15.000 euro per seguire le lezioni e noi come docenti Sant'Anna seguiamo insieme ai manager che portiamo, quindi puoi fare questo giochino qua e porti i manager a Stanford oppure a questo corso qua di Strategic Agility, no? E ti fanno seguire gratis da te il corso. Quindi trova 3-4. Quindi fai come ha detto Roberta, no? Che ti candidi a fare non so se era Roberta o chi l'ha detto.
Ero Valeria. No?
Valeria. Non mi permetterei mai di rubare questa idea geniale.
No, guarda, ne avessi di più, Roberta, sarebbe già...
Pensare che ci siamo conosciute solamente virtualmente noi, tranne con Guido che conosco da tempo.
Che peccato.
Sì.
Veramente questo è un peccato, anche per queste opportunità di training, insomma.
Sì.
Allora, my friends, why don't we continue so that we can try to finish a little bit earlier because you had a long day. I really want to go through this section, which is not really too complex, but provides you something to think about. When we discuss about open innovation, we indeed need to open up the behind the scenes on knowledge management. Knowledge management is what we discussed about. Many of the things that we discussed about go back to knowledge management in the sense of knowledge that is coming from outside in and that goes inside out. What we need to do is to train our people to engage in an open innovation setting with an environment where knowledge management is more complex to determine. Specifically, a good reference point when we discuss about knowledge management, the main element that got us as researchers involved into this was indeed technology transfer. And the idea of technology transfer before what we experience now was to get universities and the public research center out of that ivory tower that sometimes was characterizing their job, and knowledge was becoming per se useful in application with the business environment, business settings where this knowledge was actually happening, and it was the contamination between university and industry got us thinking. There needs to be a way where we see closer interaction between knowledge management systems of different organizations. 20 years ago, so not yesterday, 20 years ago, we got to the concept of market for technologies. Market for technologies is something that got into our radar screen, specifically starting from knowledge transfer from university to the industry. We are in academia, so academic people realize this by looking at other academics people. In the market of technology, especially we mentioned the pharmaceutical biotech industry, that is a perfect example of the market of technology. What do we see? We see transactions that are not based on products, final products, but combination of knowledge that is coming from outside with knowledge that is coming from inside. And the relay race I was talking to you about before, if I observe the entire innovation value system. What I was telling you before about my positioning in the value chain is my positioning on the market for technology. And as a spin-off company, a biotech spin-off company, my positioning on the market of technology can be very well be at the beginning of this value chain, where at the end is a complex pharmaceutical product that gets on the market. Now, I need to worry about the entire value chain, but for me, my market is not the market for the final product, but it's the specific zone that I control. So when we discuss about companies finding themselves and positioning themselves in the innovation value chain, considering the mess that I told you, that I showed you about, when we break down the closed innovation funnel, one aspect to keep in mind is this new market. In this new market, transactions happen on pieces of knowledge, pieces of technology. Now, the very famous model of knowledge management that can help, and this is a model that is not 20 years old, but 40 years old, and is very much relevant still today when we discuss about open innovation and knowledge transfer, is the codification and socialization process that has to do with the concept of codified knowledge and tacit knowledge. And this is a process that is still very much central on a discussion of technology transfer. Why? Because sometimes when I collaborate with in an open innovation setting, and some of the examples that you gave were very clear about a transfer of knowledge that was explicit, very explicit. What is explicit? What you can put in a blueprint, in a patent, in a publication. You transfer that, okay? But not all forms of innovation and open innovation are like that. Because if they were only like that, all you need is mastering on what we call externalization of knowledge. So going from your tacit knowledge into explicit knowledge, write a patent, call up your best IP lawyers and sell it. Okay? Or even better, identify other explicit knowledge out there, okay, and combine it and become very good at combining it. These are forms of exchange of explicit knowledge that are absolutely fine, and they are part of the open innovation picture, but they're not the only one. They're not the only ones. Put yourself in the receiving ends of this knowledge that comes from outside, let's say. The example that Guido made about the designs of new furniture and chair models that come from outside in. That knowledge needs to become, to be combined, no, with tacit knowledge that is part of the DNA of the company. And this is not a simple process that I can take for granted, because if I want to add value, it's not only the nice framework that comes from outside. I need to combine it with my tacit knowledge, and therefore the process of internalization is extremely important also in the process of outside in open innovation. Also, the type of exchanges of technologies and knowledge that we discuss about might not always happen through very formal intellectual property systems or very codified knowledge. There are business plan competitions I can create. There are acquisitions, technology-based acquisition that I can get access to. But most of the time, it might be just some kind of partnership where I want to combine my tacit knowledge with other people's tacit knowledge, with other companies' tacit knowledge. And in this case, here you have it, another form of innovation that is based on socialization of knowledge. And this, careful, this is interesting not only when we discuss about a startup or a small companies interacting with a big company, or a small company interacting with a small company. Okay, this is of course interesting, but also it could be within a large organization, a business unit, exchanging tacit knowledge with another business unit. That is also a form of innovation that is open with respect to the funnel that I have within various corporate silos. So this form also of knowledge is something that might be very relevant and might motivate my my technology transfer, my knowledge transfer. And if we go back for 1 second for where we started, the externalization, that is part of the knowledge that I maybe combine and I sell to outside, or I bring it to the market. Careful. I need to codify certain knowledge. Maybe I might need to understand, what do I want? What do I really want to transfer? And what do I really want to transfer, and what I really want to keep? Certain parts of my knowledge might be very interesting and relevant for me to keep. Others, okay, go with them. So the type of knowledge that we are sharing, the type of assets that we are discussing about, are very core for the companies and the institutions involved. And sometimes they could be very strategic, and I might not want to lose in the process of externalization, certain parts of the knowledge that I want to keep by myself. So with this modeling, I think this model, I don't know what you think about, Guido, it's not very much used when we discuss about open innovation, but I think it's super important when we design the interfaces of our alliances and our discussions about open innovation.
Yes, Alberto, I will forward you a paper that we just wrote and sent to at the moment just for a conference. It is about a biological metaphor to explain knowledge, let's say business model innovation through imitation, by actually acquiring pieces, modules of knowledge that are in other business models, in other sectors, and so on and so forth. And one of the main problems actually is that to be effective, the process needs a process of codification of knowledge, ability to absorb of also and understand the value of such knowledge, and so on and so forth. So
a very interesting point, Guido. I'm glad you brought it up, bring it up, and please do share with me this work that you that you are doing. What do you guys think about technological partnerships? This opens up a new chapter, okay, a new level of complexity. So now let's discuss about. So we discuss about knowledge. Okay, we have knowledge. We want to do knowledge transfer, but then in reality, we need to get to a partner. Technology partnership are the most risky things you can do in innovation. you need to think that why risky? Risky because they tend to either fail or underperform or perform differently from what you have imagined. Okay, so anybody out there working on partnership will tell you this. The more complex is the partnership, the more you need to be prepared that your partnership will perform differently than what you have imagined, than what you have imagined. And if you hear noises in the background, it's Emilio coming home from kindergarten, very excited. How do I identify my partner? The question to you, in your experience, no? Considering this is a trained trainer workshop, I want to ask you, have you ever experienced a partnership, a technological partnership? And if so, how did the partners identify each other? How did they choose each other? What were the criteria that the partners used to identify each other?
I think normally we go through personal connections and trust based. You meet in conferences, courses, whatever. You exchange a few words, you see what others do, and you sometimes, of course, you risk and then you get bad results of some partner that doesn't perform as you thought, but that's how it starts at least.
Okay, so let's go with trust and previous experience. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Trust and previous experience. Then? I like this one, but there might be other ways on going and choosing partners.
Well, you can do market scouting and see who is maybe who has the skills that you might not have and you need.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you might be risking, and you probably want to ask for some reference about that company before you engage with them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, what else?
Depending on the cases, you might want a big partner, so you go with searching for a big company that maybe allows you to reach some markets that you wouldn't reach alone.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Complementarity.
Mm-hmm.
And if I
Complementarity of what?
Well, competencies, skills, knowledge, experiences, everything. And if I say something that maybe is not so positive, but in any case, EU requirement.
Regulation, let's say. Let's be realistic.
Sometimes, yes, to be realistic, sometimes most of the partners are chosen on the basis of EU calls for proposal. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends.
I think I'm going to use this. I'm going to use your point because I think it's very important what you just said. Any other point? Guido, you are the expert of partnerships. How do you choose your best partner to write the next paper?
Okay, I was mute. I can tell you about maybe European projects, for example. Word of mouth, meaning it is important that the partner is a partner that works.
So not with me, eh?
No, because when you select the wrong partner in a European project, it's a nightmare. The project becomes a nightmare. So division of labor, yes, fair division of labor, much fair. And also, it's in part is also, of course, related to emotions. Let's say it's very related to personal feeling. Let's say values, feelings. Yes, exactly.
Goes back also, maybe let's put also reputation.
Yeah.
Ok. Allora, all these are great points. In order to identify a framework for you to use, because in an open innovation project, what you need to do is indeed select partners. That's basically the element, the central element of your strategy. And Emilio is getting really mad at the fact that I lock myself in this. You see, it's a little room. It's the only room I have left in the house to do my lectures. So, and he's getting very mad at me because I locked myself in. So in a moment he will find a way to enter. So get prepared to the disruption. So these are my 4 favorite points when it comes to the identification of your partner. They are, Guido, not so romantic, okay? And yes, trust and previous experience matter, but he's trying to get in. What is the goal of your partnership? So you have no idea, when you look at the literature on partnerships, you have no idea how many partnerships start just because we like each other. Guido and I like each other. We love to work together, to have an excuse to have a sprit together in Udine sometime, and because I go and visit my parents and so on. So every excuse is good to do something together. But that's not a good way to choose a partnership. And sometimes, and it happened between me and Guido, this has caused frustration because we liked each other, but we didn't have a goal, specific goal in that particular objective that resulted in a disaster. Okay? So have you got a clear objective in starting a partnership? What is it? And, discussion about KPIs. How do you measure it? Okay, in the case of me and Guido, how many papers are we going to write? How many months to get this paper written? In the case of 2 companies, do you get, as one of you said, closer market access? Do you get knowledge that I don't have? Okay, very clear objectives. You don't have a clear objective. You just, you want to partner just because we like Guido. Do not do it. You're gonna get frustrated. Okay. This doesn't mean that you are not using reputation as an aspect of choice, but without a clear objective, reputation is not enough. Other aspect is be clear about the competences that you want to share. Be clear, and this is some kind of an operationalization, if you want, of the objectives. Is it, what are you putting on the table? And what is the other guy putting on the table? So am I going to write the paper all by myself? No, fair division of labor was Guido saying, you know. But is it I am going to do all the work and Guido is going to put the signature on the paper? That's going to be frustrating, okay? But maybe Guido is the editor of the journal. Maybe Guido owns the distribution channels for that product. So guess what? The knowledge is mine, but without Guido, I don't go anywhere. So is it fair? Maybe not, but fairness might not be part of the game. So I define the competences that I am willing to share, that I want to put on the table, the ones I expect my partner to put on the table, and also what I am not willing to share. Okay, I don't share with Guido my best dissertation students. Why? Because then I see them that they end up working in Udine, and Guido is taking them away from me. So I'm not sharing them with me. I'm not sharing my star scientist. I'm not sharing some of the tacit knowledge I was telling you about. Okay, unless there are clear rules of engagement. So define the competences that you want to share, and define the competences that you don't want to put on the table. And at the end of the game, it is a matter of aligning business models with the partners. We talked about opportunities. We talked about, for example, the EU project. Nothing bad about them. You know, let's be realistic. No, let's talk about the regulations. Yes, let's talk about them. Okay. It is a clear. It's gonna throw down the door. It is a clear setting where you actually. It's an easy setting where the business models are very much aligned. Okay, it works beautifully. I wish, you know, there were other situations like that. You know, it's very hard to find real life besides European projects that in B2B interaction that work like that. Aligning the business model. Imagine a startup or a small companies interacting with big companies. And I'm sharing with this company a lot of critical knowledge for me. I'm trusting these guys that they will complete my business model. Sometimes this is not really feasible and possible. Okay, so is there a win-win scenario for the partnership? Is a very important aspect to keep in mind when we design the partnership. Last but not least, start small. Okay, do not start by writing a book, an entire book with Guido. Start with writing a paper for the Sole 24 Ore, a little thing, you know. See how that works. See if Guido is doing his job, if his English is okay. Check his competences. Don't plan to invade Russia right away. Just go for Slovenia. No, just focus a little bit. No, then expand. Think about future development. So start small and then think about future development in order to build come si dice, the right partnership and find the right partner. So in my point of view, a lot of a good partnership starts from a clear understanding of the right capabilities that are fundamental for the alliance to work in order to execute on the business model, on a joint business model between me and my partner. There is enough sharing, there is enough that is left out of the sharing table, and the business model are aligned. It's 10 minutes before 6. What I will do, I will show you the picture of Professor Eric von Hippel to tell you that we will start tomorrow to discuss about an important specific type of partnership that is a one-to-many partnership, that is part of open innovation, that has to do with the involvement of users. We discussed a little bit about, with the example of the 3D printed pasta before. We'll get back to this example, and we'll discuss about users as an important partnership to align with. And but I don't want to start this conversation now. We can do this definitely tomorrow morning. So, va bene, Guido, is it okay?
That's perfect. That's perfect, Alberto. We close with this picture of Eric von Hippel, and I stop immediately the recording, and we see tomorrow morning. Thank you.